My best bets for today. I'm on the Spurs, I'm on the Jazz, I'm on the Lakers. I had a really great number on the Jazz at -6. That was at -7.5 only a couple of hours ago. It looked like the market was all in on the idea that Brooklyn was going to sit guys. But they announced that everyone is going to play today. Apparently, Kyrie Irving and the rest of the starters, Nick Claxton available, Joe Harris available. So that number has come down to 5.5. Makes perfect sense for me, but I'm still happy to lay it. It's a tough back-to-back, Phoenix to Utah. Like I said, this Nets offense is just in disarray at the moment. They cannot score against anyone consistently. We did get ahead of the market in that regard, which is great. I'm going to keep writing this out and fading this team in a variety of ways until Durant is back. The Jazz at home, if their offense is going and that three-point shot is going, I just don't see a world where Brooklyn's going to be able to keep up. They're a team that can sort of avoid, if you want to call it avoiding, Nick Claxton as well, because they're not going to have too many guys challenging him at the rim. He's going to be forced out on the perimeter a lot as well if they go to stretch five lineups when Walker Kessler isn't on the floor. So I still like the Utah Jazz at -5.5. Market going against us there. I'm on the Spurs, which is not a great place to be ever in the NBA, but the Clippers on the road, I can't justify them laying this number. I'm on the Lakers. I make it 3.5. I grabbed +6. Again, not a bet that I'm necessarily thrilled about, but hey, home underdogs this season have been great. So if a couple more could come through today, that'd be fantastic. I do think that there's matchup advantages for a lot of these teams. I think the Lakers are one of those teams that's happy to run and gun and play in transition with Memphis, which is going to turn this into an absolute shootout. And if they're able to attack them early in the shot clock, they should have some success in scoring, because Memphis's transition defense is still kind of the Achilles heel of that defense, if you want to call it that. It's basically the only weak spot. Their half-court defense is as good as anyone. It's actually number one in the NBA at the moment. But transition-wise, that's where you have opportunities to score against them. They are still top 10 in points per possession allowed, but points per play in transition, they are actually 19th. So I think that there is potential for the Lakers to stay live in this one. I think that this is going to be a pretty chippy game as well. If you remember last time, the Grizzlies had a lot of trash talking down the stretch of that game. LeBron took that personally, mentioned it afterwards as well. He took it personally. So we'll see if the Lakers can put something together there in that one. Those are my bets. I spoke to a lot of them earlier in the day in the Bet US show as well in terms of how these teams matched up. So I'm not going to repeat myself on that. But RC, what are bets you've made today? What are you riding in the NBA?
Yeah, one of the ones that I took a little bit early. It was the Thunder here, Thunder plus 3.5. It is at 4.5 now.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think there's the few key pieces here. I mean, both of these teams right now pretty much on a hot streak, both playing really well, in good form on both sides. For the most part, though, when I look at like the Kings' last 6 games, so I'm looking at their offensive rating, the last 10 games in general. They're at like 1+125. So that's number one in the league in the last 10 games. But if you look at their last 6 games, they faced the Lakers twice, they faced the Rockets twice, the Spurs and the Magic. All four of those teams in the bottom 10 in the league in defensive rating. So their offensive numbers, I feel like, are a little bit inflated in the more recent games. So some of that current form and all that stuff, I just feel like the Thunder right now, their defense, the way they've been playing defense lately, third in the league in the last 10 games. Something clicked for them. I don't know what it is, but now they're even winning games outright, not even just covering spreads. We know that they're pretty good as road dogs, right? 14-6 or something as road dogs this season. But winning the last, few games here, I think they got a lot of momentum on their side. I think the number here is obviously 3.5. I got the bad number. Sabonis called in. Now they're at 4.5. I still like it here. I still feel like there's a chance that the Thunder win this one outright. Just for the most part, the Kings right now, I just feel like their offense is a little overrated.
Yeah, I'm with you on a couple of those points. I can see a 5.5. Looks like it's popping up on the screen in some places. I have to play the Thunder at 5.5.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Kings have taken advantage of some of the worst defensive teams in the NBA recently. That's helped them sort of turn that corner. The Thunder are playing fantastic basketball, and they've been really good defensively all season long. They've had a few weaknesses, and there are some Achilles heels there. Obviously, they struggle inside a little bit. They're extremely undersized, but they do a fantastic job of preventing teams from being able to get the ball into those bigs sometimes. And, we saw it against Philly, the perfect example, right? Like Joel Embiid is the biggest mismatch that the OKC Thunder will have to play all season long. And yet, they could not take advantage of that matchup as often as they would like because of the way the Thunder scheme defensively to prevent that from happening. So I'm probably going to be on the Thunder as well here at that number. I was kind of at between 3.5, 4 as my number for this game with both teams at full strength. And it's just gone too far now that Sabonis is back in. I think we saw a perfect example of this the other day in the Lakers-Sacramento game, right? That game opened Lakers plus 3.5 with LeBron questionable. I don't think anyone actually thought LeBron was going to sit that game. He's been questionable basically every night for the last 2 seasons. That's just what he's been. And unless it's a really bad spot, like a 3-4 road back-to-back situation, he's not going to sit. And yet he was ruled in, and then Sabonis was ruled out unexpectedly, admittedly. But that flip from Lakers plus 3.5 to Lakers minus 3, 6 points.
That was a lot.
Off of Sabonis being out is just insane to me. And I think we're getting something similar here where 3.5 for me was kind of where it should be if Sabonis is in. Like I said, I'm kind of 4.5. And now we're getting 5.5 for OKC. This is a really good opportunity, in my opinion, to grab a great number on the Thunder, who are going to be live to win this game outright. And if you're backing a team with points and as an underdog, that's all you want, right? You want a team that's live to win. Yeah. And that's exactly what the Thunder are. They're live to win this game. They're live to win a lot of games. I hope that team really embraces what they're doing at the moment and doesn't try and tank the back end of this season, because they've got a ton of talent. And I think it's in their best interest long term to give these young guys the opportunity to have a playing game or to play in a playoff series and get those reps under their belts now, so that when they do develop and when they get guys like Chet Holmgren back and these guys become a little bit more experienced in the league, they're going to be very well primed to make a run for quite some time if they can keep their young core together. So I'm probably going to be with you, RC. I'm probably going to jump on the Thunder as well. I think that's going to make an interesting bet for me if that does get any higher than where it currently is. I'm keeping an eye on the screen at the moment. Anything else you're on for today, my man?
I was looking at the Magic. Oh, I don't know what happened, but the Magic flipped to favorites.
Then that, I would say, I haven't seen it because we've been on air, but I would assume that means Franz Wagner's playing, right?
Wagner's playing, probably.
That's the only reason that would.
Well, I got it last night at +2. I think I was chatting with you last night.
Yeah.
The Magic was the way that I was going. I got them at +2. There's a lot. To me, there's a lot to like in this spot here. I think the Pelicans, they're really struggling without Zion and BI, and you the fact that Herb Jones and Najee Marshall were both questionable last night was also a sign for me that they're actually playing hurt. So Najee's out. That's offense that they're missing there. Franz in. Okay, that's a huge jump in the line. I think cumulatively, put those all guys together, it does make sense, but I'm kind of scared. This plus CLV thing has been sort of a curse, Josh. But
see that red on the screen right there, RC, next to all my bets. I've never been happier in my life to see red next to my bets on closing line value, because I've just been getting annihilated on some really big market positions. I think I was keeping track earlier in the season, games where I had 10% CLV or higher, so like 2.5 to 3 points or more to start the season. I was 1-7. 1-7.
I think one thing to add on that, dude, is like the CLV when there's injury involved has been the worst. If you get CLV and there's no effect on the injury report, you're golden. It's really just the injuries that have been really kind of tricking us off. But
it's interesting. I think it has to do with the market potentially overvaluing players, right?
So the adjustment, right? The adjustment is off.
Yeah, I think the value over replacement player this season is lower than it has been. ever in my recent memory. Anyway, I just think that, like I said, the talent in the NBA right now is just so high that guys can come in. Um, but yeah, like you said, let's see what happens when we're on the other end of
Yeah.
that seal. But you've
The
got some
one
good one there on Orlando +2 though, if you did grab that already.
Yeah, I did. So I did get that last night. The one thing that one of the few things that I saw, because a lot of the things was like, all right, Magic as home dogs, they've done well. Pelicans on the road, when they expect like when their totals are like a little bit lower, they haven't been covering those games because I think the pace of play and also the length of Orlando, I think might be a problem here without Bi and Zion. And then the other thing too, teams this season with the rest with 4 days or more of rest, and they're more rested than their opponent at 5-0 ATS, 4-1 straight up, and a lot of those were dogs winning outright. So to me, that's just another spot here. I mean, the whole rest advantage, they got fresh legs. Pelicans not their depth is gone with all the players being out. Only way that I could look is Magic.
Yeah, I think I might play the Magic here. I can still see -110, $1.90 on the money line. For me, with Franz officially ruled in, and then with Herb Jones and Najee officially out. I mean, I was at Orlando minus a half point on my ratings with those guys in. Like I said, they don't have necessarily a ton of line value. I would probably, if I adjusted, I'm basically at market now, which is -1 for Orlando. But
Yeah.
they're the type of guys that I think just have more impact on the game than what they do on the market right now because of how thin that Pelicans team already is.
Yeah.
And you've already touched on it. They've had to travel so much these past fortnight. And you're talking about a Magic team that's had the luxury of 4 days off. Like, I didn't even think that was a thing in the NBA anymore. I don't know how you get 4 days off. But yeah, I think that's a great look. I might join you on the Magic and on the Thunder for today. So yeah, full alignment there.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because I know you're a model guy. You're player based too. You have values on each player. So one thing that I when one player comes out, right, they have a specific value, right, and then. But what I said earlier, like cumulatively, right? So you got Bi, you got Zion, you got Herb Jones and Najee Marshall. Let's just say you sum it up and each player value equals up to, let's just say 6 points, right?
Yep.
Right, 6 points altogether, summing them up together. But that would be like, wouldn't it be more because they're all four together out at the same time?
So I love that you brought this up because I've asked this question to a couple of people who are far smarter than I am and work in the same space as well to try and come up with a framework of how do we compound it, right? Because it can't just be linear where it can't just be,
like, exactly.
he's 1, he's 2, he's 3, put them all together. The value is 6, like you said. There has to be some sort of compound involved where multiple guys out need to be worth more to the line because of the fact that the rotation now is so much thinner and you're having to go further down your bench that the value over replacement becomes even greater than what it would be if just 1 or 2 of those guys were out initially. So that's something I've been trying to work on for, I don't know, probably like 18 months, and I've gotten nowhere doing it. But I've gotten nowhere in terms of like being able to quantify that in a way that is actually useful. But I do think it exists. Like, I 100% agree with you. 100%. I think it's something that absolutely is, if you can quantify it, I think you have a market edge ready to roll out and to attack the line straight away, honestly, because I don't know if the marketplace has quite come up with the right answer for that yet either. But like I said, I've tried running it by guys far smarter than me, and we haven't quite been able to figure out the perfect balance to that yet, which is why it's something that I just try and manually implicate, right? Where if I make an adjustment to my number, it might be the same as the market. Like I said tonight, if I adjust for Najee being out and then for Herb Jones being out, I'm probably going to get the same number as the market. But I still think that there has to be an edge there because they need to be worth more when you're talking about Ingram and Zion already being out and them having to go deeper into their bench. So, yeah, I think that there's going to be value on the Orlando Magic there as a result of that. And also, I just like the matchup for them as well. Just their size and length. Like when you're taking out Herb Jones in particular now as well, someone who naturally has the length to match up inside with some of those big guys like Banchero and like Bobo when he's out there, and at least challenge them and body them up. They don't have that anymore with him out of the lineup, really. Their best defenders are guys like Jose Alvarado and Dyson Daniels, who are fantastic perimeter defenders, but now you're going to have to ask them to play against a team who is literally going to be rolling out lineups of 6'9" or higher across the board, like 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them. I don't know if they're going to be able to match up in that regard, but agree with you on Orlando, agree with you on OKC. Have you got anything else that you've locked in for today?
No, those are the two in the NBA. That's it so far.
Yeah, perfect. A quick question from the chat as well. Do we think that a fully healthy Miami team is a bet on team right now? Yeah, I think so. I think this is a pretty good opportunity to ride them for a couple of weeks as well until the market catches up there. Now that they have all their guys back, Lowry's back, Caleb Martin's back. Again, guys that don't necessarily have a ton of line value, but impact the game in a multitude of ways and helps with their depth immensely, where they're not then having to rely on, guys who would normally play 2 or 3 minutes a night to have to play 30 minutes a night. Those things matter a lot. So I do think that the Miami is a bet on team right now.